Diseases, insects, and weeds can cause great harm to horticultural crops and the environment that surrounds them. These are managed by an IPM or Integrative Pest Management System. Damage from pests such as disease, insects, and weeds can cause horrible consequences, such as infestation of farms, rangelands, and forests from those pests, damage to crops, loss of wildlife habitats, and overall spread and quality of life reductions from the diseases possibly spreading to humans. According to the USDA's National Institute of Food and Agriculture, damage from pests often results in vast economic consequences. They threaten the health of our nation's vital agricultural, natural, and urban area lands. According to the University of Minnesota, the most common damage from insects includes defoliation, stem and fruit tunneling. It may also include yellow speckles, accompanied by a sticky film on leaf surfaces, or ragged chewed leaf edges or holes in leaves. Weed issues may affect horticultural crops' growth and development by edging them out due to competition. The weeds may completely kill the horticultural plants. They may decrease the productivity during the growth and production phases, and they may also bring diseases that the horticultural plants cannot withstand, also damaging the plants' overall health. The objective of this lab is to identify plants that are affected by diseases, insects, or weeds, determine some symptoms that they're showing, and come up with an IPM or integrated pest management system to help treat them if they are severe enough to need that treatment. It is also to learn more about why we need to treat the plants and why we need to keep them healthy, and how we as horticultural managers can best manage our plants to create the best, most high quality product. From my recent trip to the Acre Student Farm, I found 4 plants that are suffering from disease, insect, or weed problems. Those are peas, rhubarb, corn, and strawberries. To learn what kind of pests my plants were suffering by, I went to Google and typed in pea pests or corn leaf pests, and those brought me to different university websites, such as the Penn State or the University of Kentucky or the University of California sites that I referenced earlier, and they included a list of pests, a list of the symptoms, and usually pictures that were affected by those things. So I compared the pictures and videos that I took at the Acre Student Farm to these websites and determined what pests my plants were suffering from. The pea plants exhibited some yellowing in the leaves. They also contain lots of spots on the leaves and some interior leaf defoliation. These peas are suffering from an outbreak of spider mites. According to the Penn State University, spider mites thrive in dusty conditions, and water-stressed plants are more likely to become attacked by these spider mites. They're best managed with a strong jet of water to help reduce the buildup of spider mite populations. And if this doesn't work, insecticidal soap applied to the plant leaves may kill the spider mites. Certain chemical insecticides may actually increase the population of spider mites and should be used with great caution after reading the labels to determine if the insecticide will kill spider mite predators. These rhubarb plants are suffering from holes in the interior of the leaves, as well as some damage on the outside of the leaves. According to askextension.org, this is most likely from slugs. Slugs feed at nighttime and prefer wet soil and fallen leaves as their habitat. The best way to manage slugs and other snails from eating these plants at nighttime is to try to keep old fallen leaves and plant debris cleared from the area, and that will also help control the spread of disease. The bugs found on the ears of corn from the video are cornleaf aphids. Cornleaf aphids are very common in growing corn. It normally does not create an economic damage to the farmer. These aphids are killed by changing weather. So in the summertime, when it gets warmer, they cannot survive into the normal harvesting time. The recommendation for treating corn with cornleaf aphids is if an average of 15 or more aphids are found 3 weeks before harvesting the corn per ear, according to the entomology department at the University of Kentucky. Also, since this corn is grown outside, there are a few natural pests making an appearance in some of these videos. These are grasshoppers. Grasshoppers are known as one of the highest grazing animals in the United States. They can have a major impact on crops. This is not a problem since there's only a few grasshoppers, but grasshoppers infestations and swarms can be extremely detrimental to crops and need to be managed then. This isn't a problem now with how few of them there are. In the videos of the strawberry patch inside the large hoop house, you can see some yellowing of leaves, which is most likely due to nutrient deficiencies, but you can also notice a large amount of weeds inside the crop rows. Weeds are dangerous for the plants because they can use excess nutrients the plants would need to be the most productive. They can also bring in new diseases and new pests that would not normally be attracted to the strawberries. The best management practices for reducing weeds are pulling weeds by hand, using the correct herbicides to kill those weeds without affecting the crops, and also keeping the areas clean from dead leaves and other things that may help weeds grow quicker than they normally would. To the University of California, the best integrated pest management systems focus on long-term prevention of the pests and on their damage by managing the ecosystem. This can look like growing healthy crops to withstand pest attacks, using disease-resistant plants, keeping buildings clean, monitoring fields and landscapes. The University of California also recognizes that correctly identifying the pest is key to knowing whether a pest is likely to become a problem and determining the best management system. If you incorrectly identify a pest, the chances of you killing or removing only that pest are slim, and you can damage the rest of the ecosystem. The Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, recognizes that prevention is the first line of pest control. This can include things like using cultural methods such as rotating between different crops, selecting pest-resistant varieties, and planting pest-free rootstock. These can be cost-effective as you don't have to buy as many pesticides or herbicides, and it's a lot more holistic of an approach when everything stays healthier from the beginning. If these pests cannot be managed by the cultural measures that the EPA and the USDA bring up in the reports that I have referenced, the University of California Ag and Natural Resources Department recognizes 4 methods of control responding to a pest incident. These can include biological control, which is the use of natural enemies such as different insects that will kill the problem insects and not damage the crops that you are working with. Cultural controls, changing irrigation practices to reduce the pest problem since too much water can cause disease and weeds. Mechanical and physical controls, this kills the pest directly. This can look like things like mouse traps. It may also look like pulling weeds by hand. And chemical control. Chemical control is the use of pesticides. In an integrated pest management system, pesticides are only used when needed, when other controls aren't effective, and they're kind of the last-ditch effort to control the pests and prevent them from turning into an outbreak. Of the 4 plant species that I reviewed at the Acre Student Farm, the greatest concern is with the peas. The spider mites are causing a large problem and need to be managed. This should start by spraying the plants with the hard water and possibly using the insecticide soaps if this does not work. There was not an outbreak level of cornleaf aphids in the corn, so that shouldn't be an issue. On the other 2 crops that I looked at, the rhubarb had some leaf loss, but seeing as that's not the main production of the plant, I think that it is okay how it is. And the strawberries, um, are doing well. I think that some mechanized hand pulling of weeds would help them do a little better, but they're not currently being harmed by the weeds inside of them. Once again, it is vitally important to correctly identify the pests affecting horticulture crops. If they are misidentified, this can result in large crop loss. It can also result in killing the natural predators of the pests, which would increase the pest population and cause an overall decrease in health and food safety if the wrong pesticides or the pests stay in the crops. Pest problems are not treated correctly, large outbreaks can occur. There's a possibility of total crop loss, a decrease in health and quality of the production of the crop that is left, and spreading of the pests to other places. An IPM is a strategy for long-term success of the plants and not just a short-term fix of a current issue. I always believed that it was more of a band-aid instead of actually being a path to rehabilitation for a long-term success. The objective of this lab was met. We did find some damaged plants and learned some ways to correctly identify those pests and also manage those pests for the best, highest quality product in the end.